The human mind and the universe are interconnected by laws that transcend time, shaping our perception and understanding of reality. The 7 Hermetic principles, ancient pillars of esoteric thought, resonate deeply within Jungian psychology, revealing a symbolic bridge between our inner selves and our external experiences. These principles, such as mentalism and correspondence, serve as keys to understanding the structure of the psyche and its connection to the world. They illuminate fundamental Jungian concepts like projection, synchronicity, shadow, and individuation, becoming practical guides for self-knowledge. In this video, we will explore each of the 7 Hermetic principles and examine how they intersect with Jungian psychology, providing insights for those seeking a deeper understanding of themselves and their minds. By understanding how these principles operate within the psyche, from the impact of projections to the balance of opposites, we approach a self-awareness that transforms how we handle challenges, relationships, and our essence. The principle of mentalism, reality as a reflection of the mind. In Hermeticism, the principle of mentalism states that the all is mind. This principle suggests that everything that exists, physical objects, ideas, feelings, is a mental manifestation. The mind is thus the foundation of all reality, influencing and even shaping how we experience the world. In this way, the external universe and our internal world are deeply interconnected. Carl Jung saw a similar concept within the human psyche. For him, our view of reality is profoundly affected by the contents of our mind, especially unconscious aspects that end up being projected onto the external environment. Projection is a central concept in his theory, occurring when we project unresolved emotions, beliefs, and experiences onto other people or situations. In this sense, reality becomes a reflection of the contents we carry within our minds. Imagine, for instance, someone who tends to perceive others as critical or threatening. This perception might actually stem from an insecurity that resides within the person. Instead of being actual characteristics of others, these are projections of an inner mental reality. Jung believed that recognizing these projections allows us to see the world more authentically and with less distortion, increasing self-awareness and mental clarity. To apply the principle of mentalism, Jung encouraged the development of awareness about our projections. Observing our reactions when dealing with certain people or situations can reveal which unconscious aspects underlie our interpretations of reality. For example, whenever we feel judged or criticized, we might ask ourselves if these feelings truly come from outside or if they partly reflect our own self-criticism. Thus, the principle of mentalism teaches us that transforming our lives begins with the mind. When we become more aware of our projections and shadows, we start to better distinguish what genuinely belongs to the external world from what is a creation of our own psyche. This enables us to act with greater balance and understanding of who we truly are, making our view of the world clearer and less influenced by automatic, unconscious impulses. Ultimately, mentalism reveals that mind and reality mirror each other, and that cultivating a more conscious mind transforms how we live and relate to the world. The principle of correspondence, the macrocosm and microcosm of the psyche. The principle of correspondence in Hermeticism states that, as above, so below, as within, so without. This principle suggests that the macrocosm, the universe, the all, and the microcosm, the individual, are connected, and that what happens on one level is reflected on the other. In other words, external events and the inner reality of the human being are like mirrors. In Jungian psychology, this principle is reflected in the concept of archetypes and the collective unconscious. Jung believed that, just as there are recurring patterns in the universe, there are also universal structures in the human mind called archetypes. These are universal symbols and themes, such as the hero, the shadow, or the sage, that appear in myths, dreams, and behaviors, spanning different cultures and eras. These archetypes reveal a shared structure between our individual minds, the microcosm, and the collective psyche of humanity, the macrocosm. This principle of correspondence also manifests in the concept of synchronicity, when external events and internal processes coincide meaningfully, but without a direct causal link. We will discuss synchronicity in greater detail later. Jung saw these meaningful coincidences as ways in which the collective unconscious communicates with our individual psyche, helping us understand what we need to develop or transform within. To apply the principle of correspondence in our lives, we can reflect on the coincidences or significant events that occur during times of internal change. Asking ourselves questions like, what symbolic meaning might this event have with my current moment, can help us identify lessons we need to learn. Synchronicity, for Jung, is a valuable tool for self-knowledge, serving as a mirror that reflects unconscious processes in our external lives. Thus, the principle of correspondence reminds us that the universe is, in some way, a reflection of what happens within us. Observing the connections between what we feel and external events allows us to see life from a new perspective, where difficulties and coincidences are not merely random, but opportunities for self-discovery and psychological development. This principle helps us view life with greater meaning, respecting the deep connections between who we are and what we experience. The principle of vibration, flow of energy in the psyche. The principle of vibration, according to Hermeticism, states that nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. This principle suggests that everything in the universe, from solid matter to our thoughts and emotions, is in constant motion. Each thing vibrates at a unique frequency, and it is this vibration that determines its nature and expression. The principle shows that transformations are inevitable and that energy always flows in varied rhythms. Jung interpreted something similar in relation to the human psyche. For him, our mind is driven by a continuous flow of psychic energy, or libido, which moves through our internal states, shaping our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. At times, our energy may be focused on intense emotions and vivid ideas. At others, it may turn toward quieter, deeper introspection. Like the universe, the psyche is a system of constant vibrations and movements, where our perceptions and feelings change as internal energies transform and adapt. This principle is also reflected in the polarities that Jung identified between introversion and extroversion, two ways of directing our energy. We can alternate between states of inward focus, introspection, and reflection, and moments of outward engagement with the external world. This flow between polarities demonstrates how our psychic energy adapts to situations, pacing our perception and action in the world. To apply the principle of vibration to self-knowledge, Jung suggests observing these internal movements instead of resisting them. Noticing, for example, a period of low energy or discouragement, we can see it as part of a natural rhythm, allowing us to rest and process experiences instead of forcing a change in mood. Just as the tides and seasons require moments of expansion and contraction to renew, so does the psyche. This principle also teaches us to be more accepting of our own emotional highs and lows, recognizing that they are part of a larger cycle of internal transformation. By accepting changes in mood and mental state as part of this natural flow, we gain a new perspective on the life of the psyche, learning to handle our energies with more awareness and balance. The principle of vibration thus reminds us that embracing this constant movement is essential to harmonize and better understand our psychological processes. The principle of polarity, integration of opposites, and the shadow. In Hermeticism, the principle of polarity states that everything is dual. Everything has poles. In other words, every aspect of existence contains opposites, such as light and darkness, love and hate, joy and sorrow. These poles are not separate, but rather extremes of the same essence, capable of transforming into one another. Hermeticism teaches that understanding this polarity is essential, as it shows that opposites coexist and that one can help reveal the other. In Jungian psychology, this principle is vital in the individuation process, the path toward becoming a whole and integrated person. Jung believed that each of us has opposite aspects within our personality, such as reason and emotion, control and freedom, the persona, the mask we show the world, and the shadow, which is what we hide but still forms part of us. He argued that genuine psychological transformation occurs when we can recognize and integrate these opposites instead of repressing or denying them. The shadow, in particular, is a central part of the psyche's polarity. It represents everything we repress, such as desires, impulses, or traits we consider negative or inappropriate. When we reject these aspects, they do not disappear. Instead, they grow stronger and may unconsciously influence our actions. For instance, someone who sees themselves as peaceful and in control might, in certain situations, explode in anger precisely because they have repressed aggressive aspects of their shadow. Jung viewed shadow integration as an essential step toward self-knowledge. Rather than fighting against these traits, he suggested opening oneself to observe and understand them, accepting them as legitimate parts of the psyche. For example, a person who feels intense jealousy could explore the source of this feeling, perhaps discovering its link to insecurities or fears that need to be addressed. By recognizing these roots, the person can handle jealousy more consciously and healthily, becoming less subject to unconscious impulses. Thus, the principle of polarity teaches that true self-understanding requires accepting the opposites within ourselves. When we integrate the shadow and recognize our more challenging aspects, we build a more complete view of who we are. This internal balance helps us cultivate harmony between polarities such as reason and emotion, action and receptivity, light and shadow, allowing them to coexist in a healthy way. Individuation, therefore, does not mean eliminating internal conflicts, but rather finding a way to live with them, creating harmony between opposites. The principle of polarity reminds us that by embracing these aspects, we gain a richer and deeper insight into our psyche and the complexity of our experiences. For Jung, this is the true path to wholeness, integrating and balancing all the poles of our psyche to achieve genuine inner harmony. The principle of rhythm, psychological cycles, and the individuation process. The principle of rhythm states that everything flows out and in, everything has its tides. In Hermeticism, this principle teaches that all natural processes like tides, seasons, and even growth and decline follow a rhythm of expansion and contraction. Nothing remains static, and these cycles are essential to maintaining balance. In Jungian psychology, the principle of rhythm is reflected in the cycles of psychological development that make up the individuation process. For Jung, personal development does not happen in a linear fashion, but rather in phases. We go through periods of intense growth, self-discovery, and transformation, followed by phases of rest where we assimilate what we have learned. This movement of expansion and retraction is fundamental to consolidating discoveries and preparing us for new advancements. Jung compared this process to a spiral that deepens over time, in a constant movement of learning and self-acceptance. Consider, for example, someone who begins to realize in their self-discovery process that they have a habit of seeking their parents' approval in every major decision, even as an independent adult. They notice that before making a personal or professional choice, they feel the need to consult them, concerned with meeting their expectations. This pattern, which once seemed natural, begins to reveal roots in insecurity and a fear of disappointing them. Such a discovery can be transformative, yet also emotionally challenging, as it involves rethinking deeply ingrained habits. After this intense period of self-discovery, it is common for the person to feel a need to pause and process these new insights calmly, assimilating what they have learned. During this time of retraction, they may gradually begin to try new behaviors, such as making minor decisions without seeking approval or sharing choices that have already been made. This rhythm allows them to gradually build genuine confidence, consolidating emotional independence in a balanced way. Jung believed that respecting these cycles of ups and downs is essential for psychological well-being. When we try to push for constant progress without honoring these natural pauses, we risk overloading the mind, which leads to anxiety, frustration, or even stagnation. For Jung, each phase of retraction is an opportunity to reinforce what we've learned and prepare for the next growth cycle, in a rhythmic movement that mirrors the natural functioning of the psyche. In daily life, the principle of rhythm can also be seen in various areas such as work, relationships, and even mood. Sometimes we have periods of intense productivity, followed by phases where we feel the need to rest and recharge. Jung believed that rather than resisting these cycles, we can use them to our advantage, respecting our own natural rhythm. In relationships, for example, moments of intense emotional closeness may be followed by a phase where each person needs more individual space. This ebb and flow is normal and healthy, as it respects each person's rhythm and helps maintain the balance of the relationship. Ultimately, The principle of rhythm teaches us to accept and respect the psyche's cycles as part of development. By seeing emotional highs and lows as natural movements, we can harmonize our internal experiences with less resistance and more understanding. The true individuation process happens when we are in tune with this internal rhythm, respecting the right time to grow and the necessary time to reflect and mature. The principle of cause and effect, synchronicity and connection in the psyche. The principle of cause and effect, according to Hermeticism, states that every cause has its effect, every effect has its cause. This principle suggests that nothing happens by chance and that every event is part of an interconnected chain of causes and consequences. In Hermeticism, understanding this relationship helps us see that the universe operates by laws that keep everything interdependent. For Jung, this idea resonated in a slightly different way. He developed the concept of synchronicity, which describes events that lack a direct causal connection but are linked by a shared meaning. As previously mentioned, these moments of synchronicity seem to provide answers or insights that coincidentally respond to something we're experiencing or reflecting on. For Jung, this causal causality revealed a mysterious relationship between the mind and the universe, where what we feel internally finds an echo in external events. Imagine, for example, someone going through a phase of searching for purpose and clarity about their future. During this phase, they accidentally encounter a conversation, a book, or even a phrase that seems to provide exactly the guidance they needed. Jung saw this type of meaningful coincidence as a manifestation of the collective unconscious, where what we experience internally finds a counterpart in external events. He believed that by paying attention to these moments, we can gain valuable insights into our inner conflicts or what we need to work on. To apply the principle of cause and effect and the concept of synchronicity, Jung suggested approaching these coincidences with openness and curiosity, rather than dismissing them as mere chance. Asking ourselves what a certain event might be telling us is a way to create space for these insights. Synchronicity can act as a kind of mirror where we perceive symbolic meanings and connections to our internal journey. Thus, the principle of cause and effect, combined with the idea of synchronicity, teaches us that the universe is interconnected in ways that go beyond traditional causality. By paying attention to the coincidences that resonate with our internal moments, we can expand our understanding of what we are experiencing and connect more deeply with the symbolic reality that permeates our psyche. This principle reminds us that not everything can be explained by logic, and that some of life's most important messages come to us in unexpected yet meaningful ways. The principle of gender, anima, animus, and inner balance. In Hermeticism, the principle of gender asserts that gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. This principle does not refer to biological gender, but rather to a duality present in all things. For Hermeticism, masculine and feminine are complementary, essential energies that come together to create balance and harmony. Thus, each of us contains aspects of both principles within our psyche, and integrating them is necessary for achieving inner wholeness. In Jungian psychology, this principle is represented by the archetypes of the anima and animus. The anima is the feminine side within a man's unconscious, while the animus is the masculine side within a woman's unconscious. Jung believed that we all carry these opposing forces within our psyche, and that integrating them is essential for individuation, the development of a complete, authentic personality. The anima in a man symbolizes qualities such as sensitivity, empathy, intuition, and the capacity for emotional connection. Men who repress this aspect may face emotional or relational difficulties as they avoid expressing vulnerability, affection, or compassion. Conversely, by recognizing and integrating his anima, a man opens himself to a richer, more balanced emotional life, allowing himself to access his intuition and build deeper relationships. The animus in a woman represents characteristics such as logic, assertiveness, rationality, and the ability to take action. Women who repress this aspect often struggle to express opinions, make firm decisions, or act independently. Integrating the animus enables a woman to feel more secure and confident, developing her ability to argue and lead. This integration balances the psyche, fostering harmony between sensitivity and strength. For Jung, integrating the anima and animus is achieving what he called an inner marriage, a symbolic union of opposites within us. This balance helps us let go of rigid patterns and allows us to express all aspects of our personality without fear of being incomplete or vulnerable. The presence of both archetypes allows us to navigate between the rational and the emotional, the active and the receptive, in a flexible and healthy way. Throughout history, many cultures have been structured to value the masculine, associated with logic, strength, and control, while the feminine was often marginalized, seen as secondary or less important. This cultural imbalance led to the undervaluing of essential qualities like intuition, empathy, and receptivity, which are present in both men and women. In modern times, this imbalance continues to manifest, not only in inequalities between men and women, but also in biases against people who express different aspects of the feminine or masculine, challenging traditional roles. This situation reflects a collective psyche that still resists fully integrating feminine and masculine energies as complementary forces. The principle of gender reminds us that we all possess these two energies within us, and that true psychological development requires accepting and harmonizing these qualities, creating a more complete and integrated psyche. In doing so, we approach the self, the unified center of personality, as Jung described, a realization that not only enriches us as individuals, but also helps dissolve cultural prejudices and imbalances regarding the feminine and masculine. By understanding the 7 Hermetic principles and their connection to Jungian psychology, you open up a path of self-knowledge that can transform your view of yourself and the universe around you. These teachings show us that the mind, emotions, and experiences are profoundly interconnected, and integrating this wisdom into daily life is an important step toward achieving balance and clarity. If this video resonates with you, please like it and subscribe to the channel for more content that delves into psychology and philosophy to help you explore your own path of personal growth. See you in the next video.